Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Today, we're talking about surviving and thriving through this coronavirus crisis and businesses shutting down. We're going to be talking with Mobile radio legend Uncle Henry. He's going to talk about the effects he's seeing from the advertisers on 710 AM and iHeartRadio. And he's going to talk about how he's growing a new show, the new Friday Night Uncle Henry Internet Show on Facebook Live. And also stick around to the end of the show so you can hear the Uncle Henry original bedtime story for senior citizens taken from the last Uncle Henry Internet Show. It's going to make you smile and it's going to give you a big old belly laugh. Hey, I'm Karen. I'm a former CPA, entrepreneur, business consultant with big ideas, and I'm the mom.
I'm Cadie. I'm a payroll specialist, business owner, and detail-oriented person that makes things happen, and I'm the daughter. Welcome to Cheers to Business.
Hey, Uncle Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back. I'm shocked to be back on your show.
Why are you shocked? We love you. You know that.
Well, I know that you at least say you're fond of me, but Cadie is from another generation. She's ready to put me out to pasture.
Not at all. I'm fond as well.
Well, I'm writing that down.
Uncle Henry, I know you've been in the news media for a long time, but how many years have you been doing what you do?
I've been on the radio since 1984.
That's the year I graduated high school. Okay.
Well, your entire adult life, I have been on the radio, and you can find me at newsradio710.com, streaming live in the mornings, newsradio710.com.
You know, you're getting information from national, from local. You know, you're getting a lot of this virus information. I'm interested in your take and what you see it's doing to the small businesses around you and just people in general.
I'm not hearing anything good about what it's doing for small businesses around me or from around the country. It's one of the more frightening things to witness, hearing stories of so many people seeing their life's work go down the drain in the matter of a month, filing for bankruptcy, filing for government help that doesn't come, having trouble interfacing with the government. I'm not hearing anything good about the effects on business at all. And because of the uncertainty on how long this is all going to last, it's hard to find any good news about. I guess the only good news is when you can look out and see that some businesses are still able to survive in this atmosphere.
You know, some good that I've taken away from it is the people who were prepared, of course, are going to last longer, who knew business and studied how to run their business. And, you know, they had a small savings account or they were quick enough to think outside the box are going to always last longer than people that are just scrounging every day.
But do some industries even have that, even if they were prepared, depending on the industry, how can they make it through this?
I totally get what you're saying. I think people's ability to think outside the box to do business a different way. And I've seen some do that.
Yeah, we've seen some examples of like restaurants that have started selling produce or like briquettes in Mobile, which suddenly develops a drive-through window where they'd never had that before, that type of thing. Some businesses, though, have a lot of difficulty in making that kind of a switch.
I think a lot of people do. I think it's a personality thing too. It's hard for people to change.
Well, if you've got, if you have a small retail, some type of small retail shop, that's a huge challenge. If you can't sell items online, if you are relying on people to stop in physically and browse, you're in big trouble.
But that's kind of my point. If they can reach out, you know, I've said on every podcast since this thing started, if people just stop for just a minute, take a breath, how could I do this or how could I do that? I know a retailer and they've gone totally online. That's exactly what they're doing. They beefed up, but they reached out to the people who knew how, or they watched YouTubes to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm. It depends also on what you're retailing.
True.
If people are afraid to spend money because they don't know if they're going to be able to pay the rent a month from now or 2 months from now, there's a lot less discretionary spending.
I totally agree. But isn't something better than nothing? And if it costs you nothing to be able to put your stuff out on social media?
Absolutely, something's better than nothing. And we're hearing a lot of businesses that are going along with only 20% of what they were doing or 30% of what they were doing. Hats off to those that can survive doing that.
I would love to hear your opinion, Uncle Henry, on, I've seen some posts going around as far as if you go to a big box store, you're allowed to buy things that other businesses sell that have had to shut down. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like any of that. I come from this angle. I'm really into free market capitalism from the standpoint that I don't believe that any job is a non-essential job. If somebody is willing to pay somebody to do something, and that wage buys food for a family, or pays taxes, or goes into another business, then all jobs are essential. I don't believe in categorizing one from the other. So I wish there were a better way to put in some measure of safety, some measure of protection for every type of business, and allow all businesses to continue in some way.
Totally agree. Uncle Henry, do you have any special goals that you're going out to support local businesses?
In my personal life, yes. Local business is how my business survives. For lack of a better word, we're part of that circle of life, like on The Lion King, only from the business standpoint. If local businesses go down, so do I. So most definitely, I'm going out and supporting local businesses when and if I can. And also, we've been doing that at the radio station. We've been inviting on lots of our clients and some people that haven't been clients, just to give them a few minutes to talk about their business, just to let people know that, yes, they still are open. Yes, they are still serving people, only doing it in a limited way. So absolutely, yes, we have to support all these local businesses.
How has this changed how you're doing your business?
Well, in our business, we've sent all of our office personnel home. Anyone who is not on the air or in engineering has been sent home and is working from home. And it's worked unusual. We would never have expected it to work as well as it has. So this opens up a lot of questions for the future into how much office space we really need. We've also, this is going to be a huge revolution, I'm sure, in commercial real estate going forward when so many businesses realize they don't need that much space. So we have that going on. Also, we are set up to broadcast from our homes if we ever have a confirmed case in our building. And we've had a few people broadcasting from home already, but we're still able to go in. But we're not allowing any guests in our building. All of our guests are remote, just like I'm doing this show with you from my home. That's how we're doing it at the radio station.
We're at my house right now. But I want to tag back on to something you just said, which kind of backed up my point from earlier, is that, the impact on commercial, they don't need that much space. Take the container yard, for example. It's a co-working space, but a bigger company could have been in that space before. To me, it's take a step to the right and look at it. So put up some walls and subdivide it. And now you've got a bunch smaller offices or hubs. Take Payroll, for example. We said we need a hub because our girls wanted to go remote before this happened. Well, now they're ecstatic, except they kind of want to take a break from their kids. But now they're ecstatic, and we'd love somewhere just to have a hub. So we're looking at an office if we can get out of our bigger space. There's the catch-22 in the circle of life. So what does our landlord with that bigger space do with his? I'd subdivide that thing out. And now you've got 4 or 5 people renting from you. They might even make more money if they take the right outlook on this, and the opportunity is kind of been my voice out here.
Think of it though. So we know that this is going to cause a revolution in commercial real estate going forward. Right. That will create a domino effect of, is anybody going to build a new office building in the next few years when people decide they need less office space? And so the people that used to build and develop office buildings, what are they going to build? What are they going to turn to?
Well, I think for a while they're going to be redesigning existing commercial space for smaller uses.
That may be the case.
Architects, get ready.
Yeah, architects, get ready. I know it's sad and I hate it for people, but I think if people can just stop and use the tools? When have we ever been homebound and had all the resources in the world to redirect your business?
I guess we're being forced to do that. We've had all the resources at our fingertips way before this pandemic. And half the time, people are just pulling out their phone, playing Angry Birds, or they're sending nasty jokes to each other on text message. You have the equivalent of all human knowledge now at your fingertips in a device in your pocket. And instead of learning something from it, we're sending nasty jokes to each other over our phones. It's sick.
Right on. Preach it, Uncle Henry. How many dirty pictures can you send,
He said dirty jokes.
Oh, dirty jokes?
No,
Oh,
what is
Now, what have you revealed about your own life? Cheers to Business gets unusually and uncomfortably personal.
Did he say jokes?
He said jokes.
Okay, moving on. So you work for iHeartRadio, Uncle Henry.
Yes, I do. And I'm, by the way, very, very grateful that I'm still there. Back in January, our company decided, before we knew a pandemic was coming, there was a big move to restructure the company and make better use of technology and to create hubs and to use artificial intelligence. And so we had like 1,000 people laid off in January of this year.
I'm just going to say, I miss Dan.
So do I, and so does everyone in the building that's still left in the building. Since the pandemic, we've also had a furlough of workers, both in Mobile and across the country. So yeah, it's I'm grateful to still be there and still be in the industry. Right now, there's a lot of big questions about how our industry is going to make it through the year, because the entire industry, not just our company, the entire industry is dealing with reduced revenue coming in because of this. It'll be something to see how the entire industry will survive lower revenue across the board.
Uncle Henry, we see a lot of people trying to survive and their businesses are going down, but people have been able to turn some things and they're thriving through this. And you've actually stepped outside the box and doing new things. Have you upped your podcast game? Tell us about that.
Well, Johnny Gwynn reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try and recreate what I used to do on cable TV back in 1989, 1990, 1991. I am always wishing that somebody would want to hear what I've got to say. So I leapt on the opportunity, and we've been doing an hour-long show every Friday evening at 8 o'clock on Facebook Live. It's been very well received. It's been tremendous fun. And we hope that after the pandemic, we can continue doing it.
Now, that's exciting.
It would be exciting if it were sponsored, if it actually earned cash. That is when I will get excited.
You know what? That's when I'll get really excited about this podcast, too.
Absolutely. Look, I would love to produce some spinoff products like bedtime stories for senior citizens. I'm always sick of how we worship the youth of our country. We've begun to worship the little children. They are our future. Let them lead the way. Well, I'll let them lead the way once they pay some taxes. What about the elderly? All of our tax money is used to pave all the roads and build all the bridges. Let's have products like bedtime stories for senior citizens. If I can come up with enough stories, would love to put that out as a book that young people can be forced to read to their elderly relatives that are probably.
I prefer to hang out with the elderly than to young children. I used to volunteer at a retirement home. I'm really curious to know what kind of topics these bedtime stories would cover.
Well, it's real life experiences. In fact, I've got these available at my website, newsradio710.com. Just go to the Uncle Henry page and you can read the bedtime stories that I've written for the elderly. But it was Johnny Gwynn's idea. I gladly accepted that challenge, and I've come up with some wonderful stories. The first story was about a family of elderly that were upset when millennials moved in next door. And they were able to find a way to get the millennials to move away. And that was wonderful. And then the second story was about how a woman was known for her pound cake, but a young floozy came into her Sunday school class and tried to take that mantle and make the pound cake. And there was a pound cake conflict that was resolved by the end of the story. These are the things that elderly people think about as they sit and watch the birds at the bird feeder.
I'm thankful to have this insight, to be honest.
I'm thankful that anybody under the age of 50 will listen to me.
You think you can do a bedtime storybook?
Well, I've through the years, I've always had the ability to put people to sleep when they listen. It's just a gift I've got. I think I was born that way. Katie's asleep now, you've noticed.
Not. I promise. Look, I am worn out. I'm in a constant state of exhaustion from being home with my 4-year-old. I was not made to be a stay-at-home mother.
See, I got in trouble when I said that when you were growing up.
Well, now it's socially acceptable.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it takes a pandemic to make it okay. You know, a lot of us, and I'm not speaking for anyone but me, but there's a high level of not necessarily physical exhaustion, but the mental exhaustion from dealing with all this is quite a lot of heavy lifting emotionally and intellectually.
So in this coloring book, actually, like, you have a coloring book.
I just have a few illustrations. We had a mental health expert from the Mobile County Health Department last week say that if you're feeling stressed out from home confinement or not being able to work, one of the ways you can relieve your stress is to use an adult coloring book.
Well, I color every single day. In fact, that's why I went to Michael's earlier today, was to buy more markers for my coloring.
I never dreamed, it being in radio, that one day I would need to produce an adult coloring book. Get on that as quickly as possible to help relieve your stress.
I got markers waiting.
I've actually tuned in all 3 times, Uncle Henry, and I really enjoyed the shows. So how much fun was Ariel on the show Friday night? I was tuned in. I was watching.
Great fun. There are some situations where I enjoy being around young people, and it's when I'm the one that gets to control the questions and the answers and decides when they have to leave. So I did enjoy that.
You've had Shelby, Donna, and Ariel. So if you could have anybody on that you knew they would come on if you asked, who would it be?
Mel Showers.
That's cool. I'd love for you to have him on.
He tells magnificent stories about his career. Yes, I would love to talk to Mel Showers.
Okay. So if anybody listening to the show knows Mel Showers, hook him up.
Absolutely.
What's the best way for people to log in to watch this thing?
Well, it streams on the Uncle Henry Show Facebook page. You can find it on the Uncle Henry Show Facebook page. You can also find it on the Deep Fried Studios Facebook page. And I'm always reposting it at newsradio710.com. So there are a lot of ways to find it either live or after the fact on demand.
We want to talk about some positive mindset and creative so that we're collaboration. What's your advice for people to have a positive mindset? Well,
everybody will tell you the same thing on that. And it is focusing on gratitude, counting blessings, thinking of what is already going right in your life. I tell the people that listen to me in the morning, one thing I know about them, I don't really know who they are, but I do know that they have a device that they can listen to the show on. So that's one thing to be grateful for. And they've got at least one working ear. And so be grateful for that. And I'm not being facetious. You're acting as if I'm a buffoon here, but counting blessings can help develop the positive mindset. For example, right now, I've got a roof over my head. I own a laptop that I'm able to see into your house with. I've got my dogs are not barking right now. I've got a lot to be great. I've got frozen beef that I'm going to thaw out later. I've got all these things to be grateful for. So if you start off that way and then work from there.
And I apologize. I totally agree with your mindset. I was just imagining this guy with this phone up to his ear, and he only had one ear. So I apologize.
Well, you haven't met my listeners. There are many of them that fit that description.
So one thing that's been an adjustment for me, just growing up and, establishing my career, we were always so go, 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 like always in a hurry. If you weren't hurrying, you were falling behind. And this has kind of forced everybody to slow down. And there's almost been this feeling of guilt for not being so slammed all the time. So what's your thoughts or opinions, guidance on that?
Well, I'm not the right person to ask about that because I'm generally slow. I'm not really a go-go guy. In fact, I've got a new neighbor across the street. I'm so sick of him because the guy's working in his yard every dadgum day. What does he expect me to get out of my yard and work every dadgum day?
Maybe he'll just come do your yard.
Well, you know what? That would be better. I keep thinking he's finally going to be done, and then today he's bringing stuff out to the road from the backyard. I wish I could speak to that, but work-life balance is supposed to be important. My family has a strong genetic predisposition to laziness. So I'm very much balanced in my work and life because of that natural inclination. I just came from a different generation where it wasn't go, go, go all the time. Like sundown, you stopped. Sunrise, you started. And on the weekends, you didn't even want to smell work.
So is it okay that we go back to that? I feel like maybe this is forcing us. I don't know. I know this weekend I didn't open my email once, and it's been a long time since I've done that, and I don't want to feel guilty for that.
Did you feel refreshed?
Yeah.
Well, let's psychologically drill down on this, though. Why would you feel guilty that you didn't check your email on the weekend? Was somebody hanging by a thread wanting to know what your response was going to be over the weekend?
I mean, somebody was expecting a response over the weekend, or they, sent an email on Saturday morning and they were surprised that I didn't respond. And
that's because you trained them because you used to respond.
Yeah, but that's kind of been
that was the way. I know. I was the creator of that monster.
I don't know.
I understand. Now I understand where you're coming from. I've got a lot of entrepreneur friends that have these problems where they love their clients, but they'll be on vacation with their wife and kids, and they'll get a client hitting them up at 8:00 in the morning wanting to know if they can do a rush job or something. I guess some kind of boundaries.
I sold my practice almost a year ago now. And do you know, 2 weeks ago, so we're in the COVID thing, at 8:53 on a Friday night, somebody texted me a tax question. I went, this is why I sold the firm. You always want to do everything you can for your clients. You want to keep your business healthy. You want to have a great reputation. But at some point, it goes both ways. There's got to be mutual respect.
Email isn't instant messaging. And it kind of became that way where people were expecting instant responses to email. And I feel like that's not what it's for.
Yeah, but I can also understand your point of view from especially when you're first starting out. If you're answering emails on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's a sense of pride. I'm able to serve my client no matter what. It's going to develop loyalty. I am proud of the fact that I can take this on and do this and provide that level of customer service. As your kids get older, you're going to want to fence off some of that weekend at some point. And I don't know if that comes with some kind of an away message saying, I'm with my kids today. I'll respond to your emails Monday morning at 8 or what. But I understand why you would get into that situation. But at some point, you may want to find a way to gracefully take some of that territory back.
I just want everybody to be happy.
Uncle Henry, I want to thank you for being on the show today and inspiring and giving your insight to how to be grateful.
Thank you. How can we end the show without pointing out one of the great tragedies of the pandemic? They shut down the Mobile flea market.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no flea market for like a month. And this is their busiest season of the year, spring, because in the summer, it's too hot to go. In fall, there's college football. And in the winter, it's often too cool to go. Spring is when they do their biggest crowds, and they've been shut down.
I think we need a virtual flea market.
Oh, Uncle Henry, do you know the owner of the flea market? We have a business idea.
A virtual flea market. Can you imagine the Zoom backgrounds?
The flea?
The flea market. VLEA. Flea. The flea market.
God,
virtual
I produced
flea market.
A brilliant child.
V is in virtual.
Oh,
virtual flea market.
That's why it's vlog.
Right.
Okay.
Virtual blog. I taught her something.
All right. Okay. We need the owners of the flea market. They can hook up with Johnny. Johnny can make it happen.
That's what people say about Johnny. He can make it happen. and then he pulls his hair out.
He's stressing already, just me saying it. You ought to see him shaking his head.
You could have like Vanna White walking around the flea market showing the products, and people could bid.
Oh.
See, I'd watch that.
See, you could be a special guest.
You could do the auctioning, like saying the prices. I'm just showing the products.
You know, the Obama products, and then comes the Confederate flag products.
Yes.
Isn't that the epitome of the economy?
Yes, and then we can turn it into a coloring book.
There you go. All right, so we all need more coloring books now.
Yes.
We all need more bedtime stories.
Yes.
And then we need more Uncle Henry listeners in the morning. Tune in. You can talk about that on the Live.
And we need to pass off some time for our families on the weekend.
Hey, I'm a top fan now, I think. My phone told me so.
Well, congratulations.
Okay. And we need more Friday night Uncle Henry shows.
We know you'll get at least one more.
All right. Well, we hope to see many more. Any last words, Uncle Henry?
I'm like your daughter. I'm very mentally exhausted from hearing about her kids.
Thank you.
Well, cheers to Uncle Henry being in our local neighborhood to give us insight and guidance.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for sticking around. And here comes your Uncle Henry original bedtime story for senior citizens.
This is a wonderful, wonderful bedtime story for seniors. It's called The New Neighbors. Once upon a time, there were two upstanding senior citizens, Dick and Jane. Dick was 80 years old and Jane was 77 years old. They had both been retired for a few years and decided to downsize. They sold their home out in Providence Park and moved into a smaller house in trendy Midtown Mobile. Dick and Jane were wise investors with a diversified retirement plan with several sources of income, including mutual funds, indexed annuities, rental properties, and their Social Security. Dick played golf twice a week and enjoyed working in the yard. Jane volunteered at the church 2 days a week and also babysat her great-grandchildren regularly. Every couple of months, they took vacation trips with friends to interesting places like Branson, Missouri, and Gatlinburg. They were living the retirement of their dreams. Then one day, they got new next-door neighbors, Samantha and Peyton. Samantha and Peyton were millennials. Samantha was a barista and part-time yoga instructor. Peyton was a website developer who wanted to write poetry. Samantha and Peyton both had prominent, visible tattoos and had a "Meat is Murder" bumper sticker on their Jeep. They only owned one vehicle because they wanted to save the planet from climate change. When Dick and Jane were walking their dog Sparkles one day, they waved at the millennials, Samantha and Peyton, as they drove by. Samantha and Peyton looked right at Dick and Jane, but did not return the wave. They just smirked. They were typical self-absorbed millennials, and that made Dick and Jane very sad. One evening, when Dick and Jane were in their backyard watching the birds eat at their bird feeders, they noticed an unusual smell coming from Samantha and Peyton's backyard. "What's that queer smell?" asked Jane. Dick sniffed a big sniff and then said, "Jane, I think that is the odor of burning marijuana." "No," said Jane, shocked to the core of her being. "Yes," cried Dick. "I remember the smell from years ago, back when I attended concerts at the Mobile Municipal Auditorium. Those millennials are drug addicts. They are smoking marijuana cigarettes right next door." Dick and Jane rushed inside, and Dick used his landline phone to call the Mobile police. In just 5 minutes, Officer Trueheart drove up to Samantha and Peyton's house. He did not arrest Samantha and Peyton, but he did talk to them for over an hour. And 4 other patrol cars showed up and parked in the street, which made Dick and Jane very happy. After the police left, Dick and Jane could hear the millennials, Samantha and Peyton, screaming at each other in a huge argument. That made Dick and Jane very happy. After that night, Samantha and Peyton put a for sale sign in their yard, sold their house in 8 weeks, and moved out. And Dick and Jane lived happily ever after. The end. Isn't that wonderful? Bedtime stories for seniors on the Uncle Henry Show. And I hope if you're a senior, you're calmed down and you understand that I respect you.
Please be sure to subscribe to Cheers to Business podcast on iTunes or anywhere else that you get your podcast. Visit our Facebook and be sure to give us a like. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, shoot us an email from the website cheerstobusiness.com.